So you're chomping at the bit to get a GTX 970. You've settled on an EVGA card because you like their minimalist design, or maybe you like their advanced RMA program, or maybe you're going to use their 90-day step-up program because you just bought a 760. Well, that's a very specific situation, Jimmy, isn't it? Well, one way or another, now that you've decided to pick a 9 series card, the decision becomes, should I get an ACX 1.0 version, 2.0? What do you get for moving up to an ACX 2.0 card? And what is ACX even anyway? Let's find out, shall we? Now over here, we've got an ACX 1.0 cooler from a GTX 760. Then right here, we've got an ACX 2.0 cooler from a Superclock 970. We've removed the coolers from the cards. See that? Look at that. And it's kind of interesting, actually, how similar both of these cards are underneath. Not that it's relevant to this episode, but just for those of you who might be curious, here's a shot of the two bare PCBs side by side. Can you tell which of them is a 970 and which of them is a 760? Back on topic though, looking at the cards themselves, they're very physically similar, starting with the underside. You will see a very similar layout. There are 3 direct touch heat pipes. Okay, so here, back to the cooler, sorry. So here's where we see our first hint at EVGA's subtle upgrades, though, to the 2.0 cooler. The heat pipes are now nickel-plated. There is no thermal benefit to nickel plating, but if you do happen to see, the heat pipes somehow, then seeing them being nickel-plated will make them color match the rest of the cooler a little better, which, whether it's a big deal to you, is up to you. Other than that, everything else is identical. The same aluminum heatsink fin layout, same thermal pad for cooling the VRM solution, and then flipping it over, the plastic shroud, oh, not quite the same. Now we've got another subtle change. The shape is now tapered a bit for a slightly sleeker, less boxy look, and the badges have been given blue accents this time around instead of the plain silver ones in the 1.0 cooler. Finally, though, we get to the big change that comes with ACX 2.0. The focus this time around was on the fan design, from the fins all the way down to the magnets in the motors. It might not look all that different, and it really, really doesn't. But they've made some serious improvements in this area. EVGA claims that this new fan makes the card 26% cooler, 36% quieter, and consumes 250% less power than the older fans on top of, lasting 4 times longer. The first most noticeable change is the fan fins. There are now 11 of them as opposed to the 9 on the old model. The extra fins provide more cubic feet per minute of airflow and better static pressure. The swept fan design has also been reworked to reduce noise levels as well. Interestingly, the blades are now oriented in the opposite direction. The sweep is actually kind of backwards. Very unusual. Something you can't see, though, is the motor, which has been completely redesigned. The new design is a 3-phase, 6-slot motor that incorporates silicon steel and is much more power efficient. Additionally, the magnets within are now even stronger, which EVGA says will allow it to run 150 RPM faster. Now you might be saying, really? Just more efficient fans? That's it? Well, hold on a second. Here's something to consider. Modern NVIDIA cards are limited by an overall power ceiling with their GPU Boost 2.0 technology. So if you're overclocking, the idea is that if the fans consume even a little bit less power, there's more power available for your GPU. So overall, you look at this cooler versus the old one, not a ton has changed, but EVGA has made some subtle improvements that'll make your system a bit quieter, a bit cooler, give you a very small bump in performance, and I personally think it looks a little better too. So the price delta is about 30 bucks, so the choice is up to you. Comment below and tell us, do you feel like the 2.0 cooler is worth it, or would you stick with the 1.0? Oh, and one final thing I want to mention, guys, if you're in the market for a 970, now is actually a pretty good time to get one, if you can find one that's in stock. Purchase a card before November 9th and you'll get a free backplate. Woo! Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to subscribe.